How's it going, everybody? I hope you're having a wonderful day. And as you can tell, I've been playing the new Fire Emblem game that just came out today. I'm a few hours in, and I thought I'd give my first impressions on it, kind of just go over some of the details I've seen and changes, and how the game is, and what options there are for people. Just a quick little basics thing, very, very simple, and just my overall impressions from a few hours of the game. Like I said, I'm not that far, I'm not that deep into it, so these are just initial impressions. These may change, these may get better, may get worse, who knows. But the game overall, it's a Fire Emblem game. Is definitely true to what Fire Emblem's been throughout its entirety of its existence. Now, I will say that this game definitely is the most accessible of the Fire Emblem games, especially if you're a newer player or you've never played Fire Emblem. This is a perfect place to start. There are so many options too for how you want to set up your game. You can make your game as easy or as hard as you want it to be, which I am all for player choice in games. It's a lot better than imposing rules on yourself that you have to abide by to make the game harder. It's really nice when the game just gives you that option, and those options are 3 different difficulties: normal, hard, and maddening. The 2 higher difficulties make enemies more aggressive, they add enemies to the game, or they add enemies to the battles. It just makes the game overall more challenging. So, if you obviously find normal too easy, you can play on one of those 2 modes. And then we also have casual and then permadeath mode. And the thing that's nice about those is, true to the Fire Emblem formula, when your character dies in battle, they are gone through the rest of the game. They die. Versus casual mode, where they're just out the rest of the battle and they come back. So it's really nice to have those options. Some people prefer either or, just based on how good you are at the game or how much of a challenge you want to have. Because honestly, permadeath really makes you think about all your choices. It makes you think about everything you do, and you'll find yourself restarting battles in permadeath probably 100 times more than you will in casual mode, because you're going to be like, well, I didn't want that character to die, so we got to do the battle all over again. There goes a half hour to an hour of my life. So that's Fire Emblem through and through right there. If you've played any of them, whether you started in the 90s or at any point, that is a common thing that happens, replaying the same battle multiple times and forfeiting your progress, but it is what it is. And they do have some changes, obviously, like the emblem system and the rings. They're really neat because as you level up your emblem with a character, you get more passive bonuses or stat buffs, which are really nice, and those only seem to trigger when you're engaged with the character. As you can see, I got the main character with Marth right now. This is the form he takes. And while he's in this form, it does last 3 turns, and he does get a slew of passive benefits. And I find, sometimes when you play games that have like alternate forms or transformations, you want to save them, right? You want to use them when it really matters. But in this game, they do last 3 turns, and there are ways to rebuild the gauge and get it back. So I feel like as soon as it's available, you should use it. I don't know. Like I said, my opinion on that might change, but I find using it right away is the best way to do it right now. And it's really neat too that the characters, they have a class, but they also have like a race. Even it's not a race, I forget the word, an affinity or a other than like being an axe user or a bow user, and other than being like an archer or a swordsman, they have another category that kind of separates them, and that category behaves differently depending on the class. So obviously you can mix the weapons up to match the different categories. There seems to be a nice degree of like build diversity, or at least customizing the characters how you want. Like I said, forgive me, I don't know the word. That's I'm just saying race, but obviously it's not a race thing. It's you got class, and then obviously you got their preferred weapon type, which you can obviously change their weapon at any time. So really, there's not really a preferred weapon type. I mean, a swordsman can use an axe, can use a spear, because you're gonna want to counter with the weapon triangle. But I think that's really neat. And I'm also a big fan of just the voice acting and the presentation. It's really well polished, really well put together. The cutscenes look nice. The animations are sleek, they're smooth. Overall, it's a very well polished game. It definitely built off of Three Houses, and it definitely plays different than Three Houses in a lot of ways, especially with the weapon triangle being a thing. I almost got to wrap my brain around that again because I was so used to not having to deal with that that I thought differently. Now I need to really pay attention to what weapon I'm using versus the weapon the enemy has. Luckily, your character can have multiple weapons in their inventory, so you can deal with, situations as they come and go. But it is a good game. It is very interesting. The story, some reviews that I've read think the story's kind of mediocre, meh, not the greatest. Coming off of, I guess, Three Houses story. So far, I find the story good. I find it engaging. Is it like the best story I've ever heard so far? No, but it does what it's supposed to do. Gives you a reason to keep playing, keeps you engaged. The characters all seem to be pretty likable so far, and, they fit who they are. The voice tends to fit the character. So overall, really good impression so far. I really can't find anything that's a negative necessarily yet. Like I said, I got to get further in the game, and I'll probably find more stuff that might be more negative, I guess you would say. But I don't have any complaints. I'm trying to think if there's any complaints. Like if I could just cherry pick something. I don't know. I think the only kind of complaint I've ever had with Fire Emblem games in general is just how long some of the battles can go. And I mean, I've played, countless like SRPGs, Tactics Ogre being a main thing that I cover on the channel here. I do hate restarting the battles in this game. Well, in the Fire Emblem series in general. I hate like doing a 45-minute battle and then being like, oh, I made a misplay, my character's dead. So that is kind of annoying, but you get used to it as you play these games. Once you get in that mindset of like permadeath and every move matters. And that's what I really like about this game because unlike other SRPGs, if you make a mistake, like if you move a character into a wrong spot, you can be one-shotted in this game very easily, very often, and you don't get to really like recover from that, and that's kind of what makes this game a challenge and a lot of fun to a lot of people, is you get punished hard. It's not like other games where you'll move into a bad spot, you get a couple hits, you're still at like half health or a third of your health. Like you are done. And like I said, with the permadeath system, unlike games like Tactics Ogre Reborn where you have an end cap of 3 turns to pick them up before they're dead, there's really no punishment in that game to like rushing forward and making bad plays, because even if your character goes down, either end the battle in 3 turns or just revive them, and you cannot revive a dead character in this game. There is no resurrection. Other than, I guess, playing on casual mode and bringing them back. But overall, like I said, I think it's great. If you got Fire Emblem recently, if you got the new Engage, what do you think about it? Do you plan on getting it? I know I asked a couple comments ago, or I had a little poll asking people if they planned on getting it, seeing what they think. But overall, I think if you're a fan of SRPGs or you like the genre, this is one of the granddaddies, and some people might be put off by the anime aesthetic and how it's gone a lot more anime, but I don't know how much you can do about it. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, I think it's a great entry to the franchise so far. Nothing but a positive impression. Very solid gameplay, very solid combat. Looks great, plays great, runs great. So yeah, I'll be covering this video game. I'll be covering this game more in the future. So look forward to that. And as of always, those of you that love Tactics Ogre, I still plan to cover that game as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. And until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Peace, guys.